Hi, guys. This is Anul Mundra, the founder of Expats Hub, and I'm back again with UAE Achievers Talkshow Season 2. And this time, our esteemed guest, her name is Maadhur V Gupta. She's 10 plus experienced years of healing, Vastu consultant, and numerologist. It's going to be very interesting. Stay tuned. Welcome, Madhur. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Anul.
So let's go back to the basics, right? What is Vastu and what is the scientific belief around it? Just to let you know, recently we conducted another Vastu podcast and we had an amazing response. And I thought to answer more queries and to understand more in detail, to have you on our podcast. Nobody else could have done this better than you. So thank you for accepting my invite and coming on the show today. So let us know about Vastu.
Thank you very much, Anul, to call me on your show, and to just start in a very basic language. See, Vastu is the physical representation of a human body on a physical space. So when we say that, when we divide a house in a particular zones, 8 zones or 16 zones, then every zone represent to a body part. Now, why it represents to a body part? For example, like our head is the first point on our body, right? The first step to our body. Similarly, when the sun rises from east, but we know that there is 23.5-degree tilt on the earth axis. So when the sun rises from east, the first ray that comes on the earth is in northeast. So that's how the northeast is considered as a main significant point on the physical ground, right? So it is considered as the head of a physical space. Now you have a head on human body, you have a head on a physical space. There's a northeast, there's a head point on the physical ground, and there's a head point on our body also. So that's why we say that Vastu is nothing else but the physical representation of a human body on a physical space. And as a Vastu consultant, as a Vastu practitioner, we just try to balance and sync the energies between the human body and the physical space where people live in. So, in a very basic sense, in a layman term, this is what Vastu is.
Well, that's lovely to know, and I'm sure we'll dig deeper into that. But before that, tell me, I mean, there's a lot of confusion about the correct facing of the house, right?
Right.
What is the correct information? Educate us on that.
Okay, so yeah, see, there is a lot of myth about south facing entrances. So, this is a very common saying, and you will hear from many people that people say, we don't want to take south facing house. But there's a particular reason why it was said, and this is just a myth, just to tell you, this is a myth. So, our entire house is divided into 32 entrances. Now, out of those 32 entrances, only 8 entrances are there, energy fields are there, which are positive, which are very auspicious for a human being. Now, these 8 are further divided into 4 zones. So, every zone gets 2 auspicious entrances. So, there are 2 auspicious entrances in north, there are 2 in east, there are 2 in west, and there are 2 in south. Now, why the myth came that that the south facing entrances are not good? Because in olden days, either people were not aware or they did not have the accurate tools to measure the right direction or the right entrances, and they used to do the miscalculation. So for example, just to put again in a very layman term, for example, you go and see a particular house and you will see, okay, this is towards south, thoda sa this is towards tilted little bit towards east or little towards west, but this is south. But what does that mean? That means you're moving the entrance door towards southeast or southwest, which are both very aggressive entrances. Okay, so from there, our ancestors or our elder people started saying, ke, ignore south, avoid south. It cannot be fruitful, it can be very harmful to you. So that's how that belief or that myth started coming into picture. But if you can do a right analysis, which we have the tools these days, and if you can find the right energy fields, so south facing entrances can be very very useful and auspicious. And if you see and do your own research, then you will find the top people like Bill Gates, or the look at the White House, their entrance. The top people have and they live in south facing entrances. This is also particularly very good for people who are into civil services, who are into real estate. So yeah, south entrance is a myth, I would say, but yeah, it's there.
Wow, that's a great information, and I think eye opener for my audience. There's so much myth around it, so I'm sure that a lot of information is needed in this area. Moving on to, I know you are a numerology expert as well. If you could just guide us more about how relevant the house numbers are, or what all numbers are relevant. Asking from a perspective of somebody who doesn't know where to start with, what would you like to tell us about numerology?
Okay, so see, numerology is also a very beautiful science, but numerology is primarily for your personal development. Okay, so now if we are talking in context of looking for a new house, then the Vastu takes the priority, because numerology is for your personal development, but Vastu is for well-being of your entire family. Yes, with numerology, we help out our clients with the right time of buying a property or acquiring a new property. But when you're looking for a new house, you need to make sure that the entrance is placed in the correct pada. Then the concept planning is done as per the zonal attributes of Vastu, that the bedrooms are placed in the right direction. And after these things are done, then we can distribute or divide the area as per numerology of the members of the family, that who should take which room and which direction should be faced. So that can be taken care of numerology. But people have a myth related to number 13 and number 8 also, and number 4 also. So they will skip the house saying that it's number 13, I'll not take this house. Numbers can be easily balanced by giving a house name as per your energies. So that can be easily balanced, but Vastu takes the priority.
I'm just so inspired by all the answers, and I feel I'm learning so much today. Um, Talking about how to choose house, right? I mean, again, what element of Vastu or numerology, or what sort of factors come into the picture when it's about choosing a house?
Okay, that's a very interesting question to ask. But before I explain what to look for in a house, I would like to highlight the common mistakes that people do while taking the directions of the house. So, the most common thing that I realized in my experience in this field is people stand on the door and take the directions from there. They don't realize when they move towards the center of the house, the entire dimensions might change. So the first mistake and the most common one that people do is standing on the door and taking the directions. They have to calculate the approximate center of the house and stand there and then face towards the main road or the main door, or if you're in an apartment, then face towards the corridor, and then see where the entrance is falling, where the main door is. So that's how you see the main door, not standing on the main door and uh, considering the direction, right? Second mistake that people do is also they consider the direction while entering inside the house. But you have to understand that it's not your facing while entering the house, it's the facing of the house, the front facade of the house. So, for example, I am sitting here and I am facing east direction. So, what will I say? I will say I am facing east direction, right? Not Anul is facing west. No, I'll say I am facing east direction. So, this is how we look at the house also. So it is the front facade of the house which is facing a particular direction, right? So it's never while going inside, it's always while coming out and from the center of the house. So these are most common mistakes that people do. Now, when we are looking for the new house, number one, we have to make sure of the right entrance. So any entrance which is right on the cardinal direction, whether it's north, east, south, or west, they can offer you good entrances. So you have to make sure that your entrance door is on the right pada, right energy field. Number two is you have to look for the northeast of the house. As I already mentioned, the northeast is the main point where we receive the energy, whether it's a universal energy or it's our mind. So that's the main point where we receive the energy. So northeast of the house should be clear. Avoid any kind of toilet or kitchen or a junk area in northeast. Then you have to look at the brahmstan, because that's a place from where the energy penetrates. It should also be clear. And then there is the placement of the beds. So bed is something where you spend 1/3 of your day, right? So that's also plays very important role while looking for a house. So make sure your beds are placed in the right zones. So these are the main points.
Amazing. I'm sure my viewers have got a lot of tips today. And thank you for, giving those amazing insights. We were talking about residential so far. Let's understand the difference between residential and commercial. So what is your take on that as far as Vastu is concerned?
Okay, so see, as far as the fundamental of the science goes, it remains same whether it is residential or commercial. But every case is very different and every case is very unique and individual in the sense where it is placed, what is the environment around, whether we are talking about a high rise building or whether we are talking about an operation which is on the ground. For example, if we go to an apartment or in a high rise building, then we might see the placement of the kitchen or the toilets or the bedrooms, as we already discussed. But when we go to a production unit, we have to see the environment where it is operating. What is the impact of sunlight on the building? Where is the ventilation coming from? How the magnetic fields are operating? What is the geopathic stress doing in that particular area? What are the concentric zones playing their role? So every case is very unique and very different. For example, I can give you an example. I did a industry in Jabal Ali, which is around 50 to 60,000 square feet of area. And the problem there was that there was a continuous breakdown of machines. So the owners were they were very worried that the operational cost was going high because there was one or another breakdown in the industry, one after another. So when I visited the area and I realized that there was an underground water tank towards the south side of the industry. So now what happens is, our magnetic force, it moves from north to south and it comes back, right? So when the magnetic flow gets disrupted by an underground water tank in the south side, the flow breaks. And when that magnetic flow breaks, it brings a breakdown or obstacles in the operations of the industry on daily basis, right? So we did some remedies and we did some solutions over there, and within 3 months the factory was up and running again and there was no problem of the breakdowns anymore. So this is very simple thing. It was just the magnetic flow that had to be channelized, but it saved a lot of cost and the problem for the clients.
Amazing. So, all the people out there who think, you would like to skip from these problems, I think, getting in touch with Madhur and getting an insight on Vastu would be really great for your companies as well. Moving on, so COVID brought a lot of a different phase for all of us, where fortunately or unfortunately, people also got in the concept of work from home. So now some people are obviously enjoying the fact, but I'm sure if you're working from home versus if you're working from office. So let's talk about work from home. So how is Vastu different, for work from home?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting topic to talk about. Yeah, COVID taught a lot of new things to a lot of people. But again, as I said, that every case is very unique and very different. So here we need to understand the profile of the person and the kind of work you are conducting. For example, if you're a trader, then I might tell you to sit in north, facing towards the east side, because north is the zone which brings opportunities for you, and east will make you connected to the outside world. But at the same time, if you are in finance, then I might tell you to sit somewhere towards the south side. If you are a doctor who needs to improve their skill on daily basis, especially a surgeon, I might ask you to sit in southwest. If you're a stockbroker, I might ask you to sit in west, facing towards north. So again, it depends on every individual case and the kind of work or profession you are into, that we decide what is the right zone and what is the right facing for you.
Well, that's wonderful to know. And a lot of times we talk about the energies around us, right? So, what would you suggest us how one can increase the or enhance the energy in a space?
Yeah. See, there are multiple ways to enhance energies of your house. And even if you have done the basic vastu of your house or basic rectifications of your house, even then you need to follow certain practices to, to enhance the energies of your house. So for me, being in this field, I realize that vastu is not only about the structure of the house, it's also about the way of living, right? So supposedly you have rectified the house, you have done the remedies for vastu, and you have made a house as per vastu, but your lifestyle isn't aligned with your own energies, so it will somewhere or the other, it will create problem. So one has to understand that this has to be a continuous practice, right? So one of the most common trend that I see these days, which I don't agree, and especially with the young adults, where they go on work, husband wife both go on work, they believe that they don't stay in the house very often, so they don't need to clean the house very often. So the trend is like they'll call the cleaner once in a week or twice in a week to clean the house. But they must understand that they spend night in their house, so practically they spend at least 10 to 12 hours of their day in their house. They breathe there, they eat there, they are releasing certain kind of energies. So continuous cleaning in the house is very very important. Continuous decluttering in the house is very very important, because when we create clutter around us, then we create dead energies around us. So a periodical decluttering, maybe once in 3 months, once in 6 months, is very important. It releases space, it gives space for your house to breathe. So that's also very important. And then there is something called, you can even go and google it up. There is something called ions. There are positive ions and there are negative ions in our environment. So in a layman term, the positive ions are not good for us, the negative ions are good for us. Okay, now the plants, the fresh plants, they release negative ions which are very good for us. So I always encourage my clients to keep more and more fresh plants in their house, and even in the commercial spaces, and to reduce the positive ions. Now, how do we reduce positive ions? The gadgets that we use, they release a lot of positive ions. So we should adopt a practice of turning off the gadgets when they are not in use, to add more plants in the house, to do a salt water mopping, to maybe to burn some sage and some luban google in your house, so that smoke also, they reduce the positive ions in our environment and they increase the negative ions. So that's also very very healthy practice to adopt.
Sure. So, as you know, Madhur, there is a campaign or a poll that we had run on Expats Hub because Vastu and numerology are very, very hot topics. And we wanted to know general public what they think about, these things or what kind of queries they have. So we realized the topmost thing that came over there was about Vastu relation with science. So a lot of information is available on Google. I don't know how much is myth and how much is there is a science behind it. So just tell us more about it.
Yeah, I understand. Vastu is still considered as a myth, and people come and tell me on my face that, we don't believe in Vastu. And I'm like, Okay, but do you believe in gravitational pull? So, and did you know that was a gravitational pull or the gravitational force existed before? But that didn't mean that gravitational force was not there. It was always there. So, these are the kind of energies that you have to realize. You have to feel these energies, and this you can do only when you do a conscious living. So, I understand it is a very relative field, but there is a lot of myth. But this is science, whether proven or not proven. This is a science. So if you want to explore it further, you want to do your research, and then you will realize that how exponential this is and how scientific it is. Now, for another example, so we have the glass of water over here, right? This glass of water is open, right? Now, if you go on Google and search the properties of water, you will realize that water has great absorption capability. So that was the reason when our elders used to say that, you should always keep the water covered. The reason behind it is that water absorbs what you are saying. It has a memory. And that's how crystals are also built. Crystals are nothing, they are form of the solid water element which contains and which absorbs stored lot of energy within it, whether positive or negative, that depends. So that's how the science works. So there's a science even in this glass of water being kept open or being covered, but you have to consciously live and understand all these scientific reasons.
Thank you, Madhur, for the beautiful answer. One more question I have from my viewers for you. So, Vastu can be explored at what stage, basically? Because there could be people who have already bought the house or are planning to buy the house or commercial related, right? So, what stage do you recommend them to explore Vastu and get into detail into numerology as well?
Okay, so see, Anul, there are different stages where people can get in touch with us or any consultant. The core is the first step. The people who are very conscious about Vastu, they will involve a Vastu consultant right from the land acquisition stage, because the orientation of the land also matters a lot. Now, if you have crossed this stage and you have bought a piece of land or you have bought a house, the second stage is if you can do structural changes in the house or if you're planning to do kind of changes. So you can involve a consultant there who can help you to conceptually plan your house as per the Vastu attributes. So that's called the concept planning stage of Vastu, okay, where we work with the interior designers, the architects, and the contractors, and everyone goes hand in hand to make your space more Vastu compliant, right? And the third way is the rectification Vastu. And here in this market, we all know that, not many people can do the structural changes to the house. So we have to figure out ways how can we rectify the Vastu faults within a particular space and how we can enhance the energy of the house. So for that, we use very simple remedies. Like remedies are mostly the metals and the color therapy and placing some objects in some particular direction so that it enhances the energies in the space of the house or the commercial space, and we can balance the energies of any particular space, be it given commercial or residential, whatever.
That's great to know that Vastu can be explored at any stage.
Yes.
Now, before you go, I would like to ask you. I'm sure after listening to this interesting podcast, my viewers would love to get in touch with you. So, how they can get in touch with you?
So anyone can get in touch with me on my direct number, which is 0522673331. I'm also there on website. My website is in name of Vedasri Vastu, VEDASRIVASTU.com. I'm also there on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So people can find me anywhere and I'm quick to approach.
Thank you so much for joining in our podcast today. We had a pleasure listening to you. I personally have learned a lot today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anil, for calling me here.
So, guys, that was Miss Maadhur V Gupta, a renowned numerologist Vastu consultant, and an expert healer. It was a pleasure to hear her. Stay tuned to more episodes of UAE Achievers Talk Show Season 2, more coming up.